is it going, everybody? This is, of course, your favorite Shogun here, Sugi, coming back after, I don't know, 5-6 months of hiatus. But hey, at least I'm not dead and I'm here now. So today we're going to be talking about this anime which started back in spring season called The Fable. And this is an anime worthwhile discussing about, given to the fact that how unique it is, how different it is from your run-of-the-mill anime which we're used to seeing every single season. And I will expand upon that, why I think that is. But I first want to kind of break down a bit of the premise, as always, before we go into my individual review and breakdown. So the Fable takes place in Japan, and the Fable is this assassin which works for organized crime, a very hidden entity, and basically they have this sort of or the Fable has this legendary status of a ruthless killer and can kill every man within 6 seconds or something like that. And basically he is commissioned to do work for different Yakuza organizations. Obviously, since this kind of takes place in the modern day, the Yakuza is not like super prominent, massive company. It's not like what way it was in the older days. Now it's like a lot more, I guess, mainstream, a lot more legal, I guess. And now, in the beginning of the anime, the Fable, the character is basically commissioned by the boss to lay low for 1 year. And he basically cannot kill anybody. And this is a guy who's like very autistic and is kind of like a made to kill guy. So he doesn't really have this sort of a like normal life. You know, he doesn't live a double life. The assassin is the only side that exists on him. And he's basically sent to Osaka with his handler, which is this woman who will be posing as her sister to the masses. And the story kind of revolves around them being on Osaka and getting kind of caught up with some drama and other assassins and other types of things, while they have to keep not killing anybody, because that is the mission given by the Fable's master. So that is kind of like the gist of it, the whole setup. This is not your thriller Yakuza style show. It is kind of comedy, and yes, there's suspense elements and there's action elements. It's not like your Gintama show. It's kind of more, it's quite seinen in a lot of ways, and it's very like, so this kind of gets into the point I'm trying to make earlier in the video, that Fable doesn't feel like anything I have seen before. And what I exactly mean by that is that it doesn't really use anime tropes. So that's kind of number one thing. There's no anime faces, weird signs in the screen or anything like that. It has a lot of realism going on for it. Like, not everything is exactly maybe doable by a human. Maybe it is, but it just tries to really tap into the realism and kind of like portray things in a how would I should put, like, it's not slice of life exactly, but there are definitely elements of that. So it's kind of like more down to earth style of a look into the Yakuza culture and like bit of hustling culture. It's not trying to be this like massive like thing. It's kind of like a local story in a lot of ways, and that's kind of what I really like about it. And that's the main draw point of the Fable, that it just feels very different compared to anything else that I have seen. Even some other like adult orientated TV shows we could main, like Kaiji or something, well, they even use a lot of these anime tropes and, you know, different types of things. But this is definitely cleared for more adult audience, and that's probably the reason why it ended up on Disney Plus by Stars. It was acquired by Stars, and it was done by Suga Productions. And I will talk about animation in a second, but I think fundamentally it is like a pretty good story. So it's adapting the manga source material, and there's also a live action movie. If you wanted me to review that live action film, you can leave a comment down below and I will make it happen in case there's interest for that. But it's truly really seinen to its core, in the sense that it's really not trying to be overly gore. It's not overly violent or anything like that. It's just kind of like portraying, I'm not saying that all these women portrayals or the men portrayals in the series are super realistic, but they are a lot more realistic to the real people you would meet in Japan than your everyday anime. Which is the problem with anime to begin with, is that when they're writing about like school and stuff like that and anything, really any subject, is like so out of like it's written by people who don't go outside. Like, it's just like so I don't know. Some of the social commentaries are really, really off most of the time. Obviously, Japan is different from the Western countries, which I'm more accustomed to. But fundamentally, like, the Fable is more a realistic portrayal about the real world than 99% of the anime out there. And it's just a different vibe. In the beginning of the first pilot episode, I was not sure because it was so different to watch that would I like it. Now, one of the other problems of this show is it is not very good animation quality. And I'm not the guy. You know, people who have been subscribers since the old channel know that I really don't hammer too much on the animation quality. But I have to say that Tezuka Productions did a very minimalistic job. Like, even when you have like still shots on the screen and maybe there's music playing, at least like have a zoom going in, something moving here, somebody blinking eyes or something. But there are a couple of shots in this anime which just feel like very, very poorly done. It's not the worst thing ever, but it definitely could have been a lot better anime if they had a bit more expert look into this. And the crazy thing about it is that Tezuka Productions have done Dorodoro and a lot of other quality animation, which is like very, very high end. So this has to be like their lowest work ever. And maybe they had like super mini budget and maybe very, very little time to basically air it. I don't know, but it's not like the best quality. I hope that in the season 2, if they're gonna do it, they're gonna be taking a bit different logistic approach. But this is already, because it's a seinen, it's such a niche that I don't necessarily believe it's going to be getting a second season. I didn't see very many people talking about it, but it's been getting pretty good scores though, so that's kind of it. And some people have argued that the manga does a better job. Well, it's up to you if you want to watch the manga. Based on my research, it seems that it's a pretty faithful adaptation of the source material, which is good. So the original manga is like 220 chapters long, and this anime captures like 127 first chapters, and then there's a secondary manga which is known as Second Contact, which is a sequel manga which takes place in COVID. That would be interesting to see as well. It's not as highly rated as the first one, but it's something that I would definitely want to watch. And as I like the characters, also like what I like about this, that we talked about, they're kind of down to earth, they're realistic a bit more. The main character, the Fable, Sato, he's a very autistic style of character, very autistic, and he's like doesn't understand social interactions very well. So he's kind of cool to see in that sense because he's not able to read any cues. Like his social IQ is literally like 5 or something. So this is kind of like the main draw point of this character, and you kind of fall in love with him. Like he's very cool when he goes into Fable, and you know he will talk about like how he's doing these pro things and like all that stuff. And then you have the parrot of this epic. I don't know why. And then you have the other characters. You got a couple of female characters here, which is Yoko, which is the handler, and then you got some of the Yakuza members. They're kind of interesting, but they are kind of like revolving around because the season 1, which is 25 episodes, is breaking down 2 different arcs, and the arcs have different characters on the focus line. So I'm not gonna be spoiling too much about that, but it's kind of like kind of focal, and the pacing is pretty good. I mean, maybe at times it feels slowish, but I think it was doing pretty good job. I do feel that the way that the last episode ended was very anticlimactic, and I was like realizing like there must be one episode more, right? Because it can't end here. It was like a very weird keynote to end, but then again, the story doesn't end there, so you have to kind of make a good way to end the season or whatever, but that was not a really good way to execute the ending, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to the OST, totally forgettable. The opening too maybe was okay, but you know, the music, I can't remember a single track, so nothing really worth writing home about. But really, it is the characters and it is the story, which is kind of funny and unique in its own way, and it just manages to really, you know, charm you with its own way. And it will, the story and the characters will compensate all the lack of the OST and the lack of the animation. You will maybe pay attention to that very early on a lot, but after you kind of passed on, you just kind of like fall in the story, and that's just really the big appeal about the Fable. And I really hope that we're going to be getting a season 2 and season 3, which will capture the remaining episodes. I believe also the movie does capture the first and the second arc or something like that. I don't know how it exactly is able to do that, but It's kind of like an IP that will and probably works a lot better in live action. I have to watch the film in order before I can have a educated opinion about that, but that's kind of how I feel about it. But I don't have anything else to add about here. Fable is if the show for you if you're looking for something different that doesn't use your anime tropes. Probably a great show for a lot of people who don't watch anime in general, probably because it's lot more relatable in that sense. But yes, there are some anime tropes about like some things, but very minimal. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. I will be seeing you in the next video. Cheers.